cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe
Hey,
Biden
Ma!
and President Donald J. Trump.
Mom! It's on!
And I do want to say a very good evening.
Well, it's good that Biden did say at least hi. He actually meant it, kind of like hello, hello. He was unsure. He kind of meant it.
My first question, the debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on, but on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans.
Should I turn this off? Is this too much heat on people?
Including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this?
COVID is the first question. Okay.
2 minutes.
Then die. So this is going against Trump automatically.
2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and other places right now.
They're having plenty of deaths, right?
The mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say
Remdesivir.
but I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. You hear nothing else I say tonight. Hear this.
You get the context. It's against Trump.
Not taking control. In fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as president of the
See?
United States
Anybody
of America.
responsible for that many
We're in a
deaths? Wow.
situation where
They're
there are
covering up for the
thousands
treason.
of deaths a day.
So they're kind of
Thousands
going the
of
wrong
deaths.
way with
And
this.
there are
Okay,
over
okay.
70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year.
And you're blaming the person that paid off your son and you for the Rona? Or are you blaming Trump for the Rona? Didn't you call him a xenophobe when he shut down air traffic from China? So they're paying you And you called Trump a xenophobe when he tried to protect America. Okay.
I would make sure
It's a story.
set up national standards of how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic.
Fauci came out when he was first with Trump and said Trump did a wonderful job. Okay.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up.
You listen to the
with your
experts, huh?
comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic.
Okay.
I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. And then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you because this is speculation. You have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline's going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution.
So far, Trump is being real gentleman-like, which is a compliment to the President of the United States, the seat of power. He's complimenting the presidential seat.
And just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the science world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan.
We're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country.
Wow,
We've learned and studied and understand the disease.
That's a worldwide difference. Trump is trying to bring the light. You know, Biden's like, oh, it's going to be dark and evil and just fearful. And Trump is bringing the vaccine, this, to that.
I should have moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now. But it was a far less
I want to
lethal
praise
disease.
my dad, and of course, JC, Jesus Christ. I'm not drinking a beer. I'm drinking a Mountain Dew my mother bought. Thank you, Mom. I'm not drinking a beer. And I'm praising God for that.
Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way, every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it
Not because, just because. You see, you can catch that? Just because.
44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
If I was Trump, I said, well, I wonder how that turquoise jewelry company's going to come along with you.
I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families. Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, you know, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, you know, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people
Okay,
recover.
we're,
we have to recover. We
I'm gonna look at the
can't
time.
close our nation. We have to open our school.
We're
And we can't
14 minutes in it, and we're still talking about the Rona. Still talking about the Rona. 14 minutes in.
Can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to.
That was polite. He did say, "May I have 30 seconds?"
That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it. Because he's never said.
See the death, the darkness, the fear.
Really dangerous still?
Man, you're just working for your dad right now.
What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your
Excuse
team.
me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here, it's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Well, that was something. Trump defended Biden, and he said it's not Joe's fault. If I got that correctly.
It's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. Warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that. A lot of people thought.
I was blaming Biden for calling Trump xenophobic. Therefore, he didn't shut down all air traffic, and people got in from, of course, of all places, the European Union,
Perhaps
and
just to finish this.
or something like that.
I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. What Nancy
Oh,
Pelosi
didn't say
said the
that.
same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yes, she was. Yes,
But
she was.
when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing, you're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he
So
says I should
that's what I
close it
blamed him
earlier.
for. He says
It
xenophobic.
just, Joe, it doesn't
I
matter.
didn't say either of those things.
You
I didn't
certainly
say
did.
xenophobia,
You certainly
and
did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handle.
He thought I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
That's obvious.
Is that, do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been.
He's blaming Trump for shutting down the economy when, of course, the liberals are having these stranglehold regulations on businesses in Democrat districts that it's killing businesses.
But there are, look, you need standard. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open
Okay,
museums. Do
they're
not
still
open
talking
communities
about the
under
Rona.
control, under more control. But
It's
we're
20
giving
minutes into the
people
debate.
the
20
capacity
minutes.
to be able to open and have the capacity
Somewhere
to
around
be
there.
safe.
20 minutes
For
of the
example,
debate.
Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools.
Well,
President Trump,
I think we have to respond to my mind.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, You look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina.
Totalitarian.
Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying.
Yep.
And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small. But I want to open the schools. We have to open our country.
What do I do for the schools? Of course, I would have everyone go to school. We need interaction, social learning amongst each other. Kids would probably pass around the Rona from a certain extent, but for the most part, be harmed not. And what would I do as it is with these many districts I'm in Michigan? They're shutting down schools, and what we need to do is protect children. There's children that have their guns when they're viewing them in their room via tech, right? They see their toy guns, they expel them or get them in trouble. They see their Trump paraphernalia, they get them in trouble for that. It's Goebbels land. If government invades a child's room, government has no fucking right. I don't care if he has a Uzi. Well, a real one, yeah, but a toy Uzi, whatever, it's his toy. It's not illegal. You can't get him in trouble for it showing up on government intruding into his fucking room. Next question.
That is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we can open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people.
How long is that going to be? How long? Businesses are dying.
Wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of...
Joe, you got to balance economics with science and medical experts. It's not just one expert that rules everybody. You need a band of experts and an intelligent person to decipher the best for America. That's what president is, Joe. We can get one expert or a couple experts to listen to anytime. We don't govern like that. We get a smart person to hear all the experts and not to favor one of them, but put all in consideration, have the best course of action.
11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what about...
You say spike. Take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania. They've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been...
I think this mask, having to wear mask national that Biden wants, that's unconstitutional. I smoke constantly now because I'm in turmoil, stress. I don't have to wear a mask when I walk outside.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to fight them?
Well, I'll tell you what, Christian Walker, Fauci is a disaster because he spoke early on about Trump, that Trump was doing a good job. Trump used the expert's quote, and the expert now in bed with MSNBC and CNN and all the media and the deep state and everyone else, big tech. It's like, no, he took it out of it's like,
But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon.
how can you take that out of context? How can you?
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving.
Well, I want to interject or argue with it. The suicide rate has jumped tremendously, I think, a lot because of the Rona. For you to say people are not scared or tripping out or whatever, Biden, or whatever your word you said was disingenuous.
And as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Average contribution $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence.
You did go to Wall Street, right? And that was right before you said that no one's life is going to greatly change if you vote for you. You went to Wall Street and tried to get them all on your side. You get the big money.
This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an
That's when
end
you were
to this?
campaigning?
2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear.
Early
I asked
on?
everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price.
Well,
It's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learned that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on.
I don't know
right now. They're interfering with American
for a
sovereignty.
fact,
And to the best of my
100%. I go by faith. My dad uses me at times, right? Satan jumps in me, uses me at times when I get. That's life, man.
And I don't know
I'm not trying to hide anything.
Said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, his buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then
Well,
happens?
what I want to hear,
Happens?
Biden,
And
is
then you
what
find out that everything
issues,
that's going on here
what
about Russia is going to make sure that
agenda
I do not
is
get
Trump
elected the next president of the United States
advocating or
because they know I know
championing
them, and
from
they
Russia?
know me.
Where's
I
the
don't
meat?
understand
Where's the
why
beef
this
on this?
president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize
Oh,
all of NATO. I don't know
Killing
why
soldiers in
the president
Afghanistan. You know what?
asking
Some of that
the question,
Obama
why is it
money made it to
that
Afghanistan
any country
through
interferes with us
the
is
Iran,
in fact
them hiring terrorists and
affecting our
paying to
sovereignty.
kill off troops.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes
Well,
uninterrupted.
let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow.
He knows it's true.
And you got $3.5 million.
You see his face.
Family got $3.5 million, and
now
So
he's
you're gonna have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John, John Ratcliffe, who was fantastic.
rewind the tape.
He said, the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose, because there has been nobody tougher to Russia.
It would make more sense that Putin wants Trump to lose because he could just buy off Biden again and Hillary and Obama and whoever he has to buy off. The one-time senator, I hear, is worth a little bit of money now.
I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama.
We'll make this equivalence. Bernie Sanders has been in Congress for how long? 40, 50, I don't know how many years. Long time. Or been in Congress. How long has Obama been in Congress and then the presidency? Had 2 terms on the presidency. And look at their money.
And it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family.
Trump or Obama wasn't rich, supposedly, before he went into politics. He was poor, right? That's what he said.
Vice President Biden, you may respond to the
Please,
sentence. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact...
I can't believe he just lied like that.
I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my
A penny. Haven't he?
22 years. Go look
He hasn't taken a
22
penny
years of my tax return.
of
You have
Hunter's
not
money.
released a single
Not at all.
solitary year of your tax return. What are you
Not a penny. He didn't take.
Why are you
He didn't
not
take. Hunter didn't take Biden out at all to eat or anything.
China's paying
He didn't buy him any Christmas presents with the money he got. No,
all around the world.
Biden got nothing. Nope, not a penny. I don't have to go into it further. The basic shows you he's lying.
Why don't release your tax return and stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
released
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee.
I think
Let me just tell you,
so.
prepaid
So the
millions
Rona
millions of dollars in
and
taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do.
the
I
Rona
don't make money from
interfering
Ukraine.
with the election
I don't make
with
money
Iran
from
and Russia.
You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about all of this. I'm going to let you both respond very quickly.
No, you should have let him respond. Don't cut him off on that important issue. Everyone deserves to hear.
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decided to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal.
Obama's IRS that, of course, after the prayer breakfast, went after Dr. Ben Carson, miracle hands himself as retribution for assaulting the crown.
About questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised, to give you both a chance to
Some point-
talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did you've been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to reduce your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are
Good
so
job
low.
being quiet,
Last time he said
Trump.
what he
Good
paid,
job.
He said, I only pay
You
that
fought it
money
off.
because I'm smart. I know how to gauge
It's
the
Satan
system."
that rises up in us with anger and different things. It wants to take over.
Trump, and then I
He's
want
doing
to
a
get to
much
two
better
questions.
job, in my opinion, on this
I
debate.
was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected.
It started, yeah, I was about to say it was longer than that.
No president should ever have to go through what I went through.
More like 5 years of being spied on when you got into politics, going on Fox and Friends when James Rosen and all that. And
They went through everything.
well, that was later. Well, what was the timeline?
And they found
They went through
absolutely
Fox
no
and
collusion
spied on
nothing.
all everybody at Fox and tried to get their weaknesses of all their devices and artificial intelligence.
The kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well.
Joe, is that not true? You're shaking your head.
All right, gentlemen,
You're shaking your head. See, you're not.
about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there
Is
has
that
been
true,
questions
Joe?
about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect,
See, I wanted to get him. He's shaking his head no.
relationships
And look, in the Bible, it talks about if you get somebody in power, they'll take from your vineyards, give to their friends,
We had this
right?
whole
Their
question
friends and
about
family
whether
and
or not
loved
because he
ones,
was on the board,
right?
they learned to
It says that in the Bible. If you get a king, he'll steal from you.
that somehow I had
That's
done
what we
something
do,
wrong. Yet
right?
every
The
single
fact that
solitary person, when he
Biden
was
was
accused,
stealing from other countries isn't the biggest deal. To me, he's lying about it. You don't lie, man. You're Catholic.
single solitary
What kind of a mortal sin is a lie?
single thing. Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy who made money
Who's on a
from
board in
was this
China?
guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
Okay, just one thing.
Very
His
quickly.
son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump. this
No
is-
basis.
since
No,
you
there's been an investigate. You fired the
personally promoted your
Oh my God, the moderator sucks.
His reference does
He was investigated about Ukraine.
So how can
You got the investigator fired.
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was open to do, it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up
Okay,
money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you. We
goes.
do
Not
need to move
true.
on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president,
Well,
would you make
they
China
should pay because they didn't shut down their borders and air travel to America. What, 200,000 deaths? How many trillion-dollar bills?
With China.
China needs to pay up.
We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all.
Trump was the biggest
Number two, we're in a
proponent
situation
and
where China would have to
talking about
play
our
a role
intellectual
internationally
property
as
being
well.
stolen. He did a
When I met
wonderful
with
job
Xi at
teaching
Denver,
us
when I
about
was
our
president, he said, we're setting up
champion that
regulations
in his
in the
politics.
South China Sea. You can't fly through them.
He kept
That's
saying
why
it
fly
over
through
and
them.
over again, so
We
it
want you to be
brought it to
accountable
America's
to it. We're not gonna pay
attention
They
that
have
our
to play
technology,
by the
bam,
rules.
we work
And next
hard
year,
to invent.
he embraced
They
these
still,
guys
they're
like
thieves.
these thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up.
You mean all of your allies?
25%.
Your allies are not the same as his allies, Biden.
We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically.
We elected
That's how we
him,
run it, and
Biden.
that's what we did, upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, and let's talk about North Korea.
I do love Israel, and I'll protect her. I don't need to like the Jews. I don't care about offending them. But you know, they're not adherent Jews anyway. They have nightclubs and that open on the Sabbath. They're not anyway, yeah, but my God promised them the land of Israel.
What are you going to do? What specifically are you
That's
going to
the deal. God gave it to them, so that's theirs. End of story.
Billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
do sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't
No,
come from
yeah, you
China.
know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China
Not
paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires to the ball because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Who's going to tell her?
Well, that's Big Nancy's fault. Nancy wouldn't meet
They're
them,
you're making, and the middle-class
and
families
she
like
vowed
yours,
that they wouldn't get.
they're in trouble.
If by Monday they said on MSNBC that or Fox, I can't remember which station it was, that they'd have to wait till after the election. Nancy pushed that.
Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not a
North
typical
Korea.
politician.
Okay.
That's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next one.
So, when I met
Well, I'll tell you, Christian Walker, you make a big deal out of North Korea and their new ballistic missile, right? We're doing what we can, but what's sad, Christian, is you're not mentioning Iran, which Obama gave tens of billions of dollars and hundreds of billions of dollars in frozen assets to the world's largest state sponsor of terror. And
about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people, and so millions of people would be
Okay.
dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
back
a war
30
and have a
seconds.
good relationship.
Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests.
Yeah,
under
so
the
why
Obama
not we bringing up Iran as a military power that's trying to wipe the map off of Israel, right? Contaminate the land my dad gave the Jews.
Spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, and they said, "Why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea?" I said, "Because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue." What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to meet
quickly,
with
10
him.
seconds.
Tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, gotta get a
They
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And it's okay. You know what, North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have to
leaders
move
of other
on.
countries
We have
is
a lot
a
of
good
we
thing.
have a lot of questions to get to.
Yes,
Your
I
response.
And we had a good relationship.
Yeah, with a leader like North Korea, it's important to praise him because he's not very popular with the people, really. So when he gets praise, right, which he gets a lot of because they don't want to die, they want to get favored. That's how their culture is. But if you're a smart president, at times when a North Korean leader does something good, you praise him, right? You did a good job, man. Good job. Proud of you. You know, wow, awesome.
There was a very
That's what smart people do.
The first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit, there was a very they left us a mess, and Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is healthcare, as you both know. Today there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance.
Fair
almost
question.
overnight.
This is a
So
good
what
question.
would you do if those people
Fair
have their
question.
health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful healthcare. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we.
So basically, what he's saying is he'll have something ready on preposition on the precept that the Supreme Court will knock out basically Obamacare, and of course Congress is with him.
These are people that love their health care. People that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on healthcare, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option, become Bidencare. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically enroll, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices
Just
with
Medicare
the insurance companies.
as competition? They'll just agree with each other to keep them expensive to pay off people with pre-existing conditions. They're not going to be too competitive. They're just going to agree that to be expensive.
One single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time.
It's a little bit of a feat. How are you going to afford pre-existing conditions on any plan? That's a fair enough. Thing. You're going to have to come up with some federal monies or something. I don't know.
The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you
think? You think COVID's like breathing asbestos? Was it made in a Wuhan with Wuhan, China? Was it made there? Pre-existing conditions. Do you go to a doctor 10 years after catching the flu and say, yeah, doc, I got pre-existing conditions. I can't breathe that little ball up. I had the flu.
To have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your
Again, fear. Vote for me in fear. I don't like that message. I don't like that message. It's not faith. How dare a man saying a man of faith, saying I am a man of faith, always putting people in fear. The darkness, the this, the that.
It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it, his vice president. I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you want with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where we got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never ask that question. And by the way,
So that's truly a flip-flopper. That's somebody that doesn't reason and change his mind on an issue, but just simply flips-flops on issues on his location, I guess, or his current need, political need.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. And the Biden-care proposal will, in fact, provide...
So healthcare and the Rona dominated most of those. I'm going to see how long it's been.
$150 billion over 10 years to do
First
it.
hour
And
of
they're
the
gonna be
hour of the
better
debate,
plans,
Rona and
cheaper
healthcare.
plans, lower your premiums, deal with
So they
much
both
higher
favor.
expected
They
living,
both
and
favor.
have your prices drop significantly. He keeps
Well, with the
talking about
explanation,
he
Trump,
hasn't
but they
done
both in
things
general favor
anybody in
Biden
healthcare.
on the
Now,
topics, the Rona and healthcare. Them are two big issues that Democrats scored great on.
And healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare.
Let's see where Christian Walker puts the favorable, maybe the mention helping you out, the mention of, oh, Trump got nominated for the Nobel Prize 2 times. That will kind of even it up a little bit.
Vice President Biden,
Very
your response.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary of Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023.
If that's true, yeah, it'll go bankrupt. How you? If you don't take out for Social Security, you don't dry up. Is that what are you doing, Trump?
Is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of,
seconds,
he
Mr.
tried to hurt
President, and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm gonna move on.
Let him finish.
Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
I want him to finish. That's an important question for America to know.
He's elected, the stock market will.
So, come on, Christian Walker. Is Trump going to defund Social Security? Oh my God, they don't have the American people. She doesn't have the American people in mind.
Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the.
I wanted to hear Trump. Are you? I want him to finish. Are you going to defund Social Security? My aunt, of course, that my uncle, my Christian uncle that killed himself over big tech artificial intelligence, getting him to kill himself, hang himself in the garage. She's on Social Security, right? So I want to know. You're defunding it? Okay, I'm on Social Security.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next question. Let me move on to my next question, gentlemen. As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
And you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get her. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already...
Yeah, Nancy cut off all this time. She said, oh, if we don't make it by that Monday, that couple Mondays ago, then we're just not doing a deal. Like, how much do you make, Nancy? Work your tail off until it's done before November 3rd.
He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why is he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President
We made a
Biden,
deal
because
for
let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Good
Why
question.
They have
Okay.
pushed- Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer.
I have
This
pushed
is like
it.
it's
I
not
pushed this
new.
out.
It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get...
The HEROES Act is not coming up with something for the American people to get help or aid in this pandemic. The HEROES Act was voted down or no, that it was a no-go. So they need to will and deal and figure it out to get help to those that need help.
Let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The bill
with
that was
this guy?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats.
That's why they don't want to do it unless it's tied to a bunch of payoff money to districts.
It's a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. we were gonna take care of everything.
Good
for
point,
them.
good point.
And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does,
Why a lot of these big cities are, all the aid they're giving to the illegals is draining their money. They might have the votes to get in power, but what they're doing in these cities is destroying them economically.
Cities and states.
All right, I want to.
If I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm gonna be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks.
Then why are your people so violent? Why are people getting assaulted for simply having a MAGA hat on?
First responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their.
And you haven't spoke out against their violence? And you're trying to pull the, well, I'm for Americans, red and blue.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum
I
wage.
do, because I think one of the things we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not gonna be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows.
Okay,
us
so
to be able
with
to
that
have
in mind, Joe, the moderator should say, with that in mind,
everything from
with 1 in 4, 1 in 5, whatever it was, businesses going under because of the Rona,
schools, how they can make
would you
classes
guys
smaller, how they can
stop
hire more teachers,
the
how they can
high
make
regulation and rules that strangle small businesses during a pandemic, like in New York? Would you, Joe, stop all the regulations that's killing businesses and making them go bankrupt?
We have to help our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
We have to
recently.
help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
You
How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their
You
employees.
said very recently you would consider raising the
Well,
federal minimum wage to
Trump is
$15.
an expert in business. I'd probably
Consider raising the federal minimum
take
wage
more
to
talking about
$15.
firing people.
I would consider it to an
I'd
extent.
probably listen to him more on it.
What I read in a second
They are
recession,
talking about
but
business a little
not
bit.
to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look.
That's Trump's expertise, so that's Biden had 2, that's 1. Business is Trump's expertise.
In other places, other states, $15 per
Okay, President Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening?
He doesn't even know what the minimum wage is. Isn't it 7 something now? He said 6, 7, 7 something, right?
There's no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business.
A little bit out of touch. I haven't worked in
We're going to talk about
probably over
gentlemen.
just a long time,
Talk about
and
fairness in this context. Mr. President,
I know the
your
minimum wage is at least
separated
7
children
something.
From their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children.
This
How
is
will these
important.
families ever be
This is
reunited?
important. Even though it goes against Trump,
right here.
it goes against Biden too. It goes against Trump because of the American people believe it's a Trump problem. It started with the Biden administration with a federal lawsuit about how they treated women or children at the border, and the missing children and CPS and all that happened under the Obama administration also. So it's a continuation
And then they had a picture
of
certain
the Obama
newspaper.
Biden
It was a picture of these
administration.
horrible cages, and they said, "Look at these cages."
But yes,
President Trump built them.
the cages, they took the pictures out, right? For instance, the cages, right? They took a picture of the kids being caged, and they found out it was during the Biden Obama administration. The actual pictures taken, and then they quickly ended that story, didn't talk about it anymore.
Plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Very, real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock.
How do we know they were their parents, Joe? A lot of children came over here by themselves only to meet up with sex traffickers that acted like mom and dad.
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about
Who
what we're
built the
talking about.
cages?
Oh, but it started with Obama.
What
Started with Obama. Started with
parents
Obama.
Their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say
it.
this, they went
10
down, we
seconds,
brought
and then I need one.
reporters, everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of
They've
them
gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me
Good
ask you
question.
about your
No, I
immigration
come
policy,
on.
Mr. Vice President. The Obama
Come on, you guys are
administration
messing with my
supported
video now.
immigration reform,
I'm
which
lagging.
he promised
Come on.
during the
Really?
administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. Took too long to get it right.
Immigration.
United States, not
Remember
just the United
Biden?
States.
Human petri dishes coming in from overseas. You're not for the border yet?
Congress, a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those
Border wall. Sorry, the border wall yet?
DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they go into a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President,
Kristen,
what's
he
your
had
reaction?
8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific, we got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Yeah.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Come on.
Catch and release.
Really lagging?
If in fact a family came across arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released, and guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America.
Well, I mean, when they cut across 2 or 3 countries to come to America to proclaim asylum, it's ridiculous because you're supposed to go to the first country, right? The first country.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll
It
move on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration. They come back. They don't come back, Joe.
Yeah.
They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump,
Very,
let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know the
section.
law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.